Our colleagues, Ken Delanian and Vaughn Hilliard, are covering this developing story since we've been on the air, and I want to share this update to their reporting. They report that Deputy FBI Director Dan Bongino is considering leaving his job after this heated confrontation with Attorney General Pam Bondi over his frustration with how the Justice Department has handled the Jeffrey Epstein files. That's according to a person who's spoken with Bongino and a source familiar with Bongino and FBI Director Kash Patel's interactions with Bondi. Quote, Bongino is out of control, furious. The person who has spoken with the deputy FBI director said, quote, this destroyed his career. He's threatening to quit and torch Pam unless she is fired.
A political earthquake is shaking Washington to its core. What we're witnessing is a constitutional crisis unfolding at the highest levels of American law enforcement. Deputy FBI Director Dan Barino has reached his breaking point. Multiple sources describe him as being in a state of absolute fury. One person who has spoken directly with Barino revealed shocking details. Barino is out of control, completely furious. These aren't the words used to describe typical workplace frustration. This is a career law enforcement official who believes his professional legacy has been destroyed. The situation is even more explosive than it appears. Sources familiar with interactions between Barino, FBI Director Kash Patel, and Attorney General Bondi reveal that Barino has issued an ultimatum. His message is clear and devastating. This destroyed his career. He's threatening to quit and torch Pam unless she is fired. Think about what that means. A deputy director of the FBI is threatening to publicly expose the Attorney General of the United States. For a senior FBI official to consider blowing the whistle publicly suggests the situation has become completely intolerable. But Bondi isn't just dealing with internal rebellion. She's under siege from multiple directions simultaneously, and the pressure continues mounting every single day. Federal judges have taken extraordinary steps to publicly rebuke her conduct. Congress has unleashed investigations wielding subpoena power and threatening devastating consequences. At the center of this firestorm lies one issue: the Jeffrey Epstein files. These documents have become the flashpoint for a massive battle about transparency and accountability. Bondi's refusal to fully release them has triggered potential contempt proceedings that could fundamentally alter her future. A federal judge has issued explicit orders regarding document production. The Transparency Act specifically mandates full disclosure of materials related to the Epstein investigation. Yet Bondi has provided only partial compliance, releasing fragments while withholding what many believe are the most damaging portions. This selective disclosure has created a firestorm of suspicion. What's being hidden in those unreleased documents? Who is being protected? And most importantly, is the Attorney General using her position to shield powerful allies from accountability? The consequences are severe and escalating. On December 21st, 2025, lawmakers from both parties publicly announced their intention to move forward with contempt proceedings. The threat is immediate and concrete. For every single day Bondi continues withholding the complete Epstein files, she would face financial penalties that accumulate relentlessly. The bipartisan nature of this effort is particularly striking. Republican Representative Thomas Massie and Democratic Representative Ro Khanna have joined forces to draft a contempt resolution specifically targeting Bondi. In today's polarized political environment, this kind of cooperation is extremely rare. The resolution they've crafted is strategically powerful. By utilizing Congress's inherent contempt power, they bypass the obvious conflict of having Bondi's own Justice Department prosecute her. This route requires only a simple majority vote in the House. No cooperation from the executive branch needed. If that vote succeeds, the consequences begin immediately. Financial penalties start accumulating daily. Public pressure intensifies exponentially. And it creates a permanent stain on Bondi's record that no amount of political maneuvering can erase. But the Epstein files are just one front in a much broader war over the Justice Department's integrity. This past December, former Justice Department officials took an unprecedented step, publishing a public letter directly attacking Bondi's leadership. These aren't political operatives. These are former prosecutors and civil rights attorneys who served under administrations of both parties. Their credibility is beyond dispute, which makes their accusations devastating. The letter pulls no punches. It accuses Bondi of systematically destroying the Civil Rights Division, one of the Justice Department's most historically significant components. According to these officials, Bondi has abandoned cases designed to protect voting rights, combat discrimination, and ensure equal justice. Cases that took years to build have been dropped or dramatically scaled back. The accusations go beyond neglect. The former officials claim Bondi has redirected prosecutorial resources toward politically motivated investigations designed to benefit the current administration and punish its enemies. In other words, they're accusing her of weaponizing the Justice Department. These are grave charges that strike at the heart of what the Justice Department represents. If accurate, Bondi has violated the fundamental principle that prosecution decisions must be based on facts and law, not political loyalty. The situation became even more dramatic when a federal judge intervened directly. In a formal court order, the judge instructed prosecutors to rein in Bondi's public statements about ongoing cases and defendants. The judge's concern was specific. Bondi's inflammatory public comments about defendants risk poisoning potential jury pools and making fair trials impossible. The judge specifically cited her public attacks on a defendant in a migrant smuggling case, along with comments about other individuals targeted by the administration. For a federal judge to issue such a warning to the Attorney General is almost unprecedented. It signals a complete breakdown in professional relationships between prosecutors and courts.
Which merger? You've listed many.
Involving American Express GBT. I understand that Brian Ballard, longtime backer and head of the law firm where you worked, was instrumental in lobbying the Justice Department to drop that lawsuit. It was dismissed, so it's not subject to a court review. What conversation did you have with Mr. Ballard?
Senator Blumenthal, I cannot believe that you would accuse me of impropriety when you lied about your military service.
I am
you
not
lied.
asking
You admitted you
I am
lied
not
to be
accusing
elected
you
a
of
U.S. senator.
impropriety. I'm
You
asking
lied.
you
How
about
dare you? I'm a
conversations
career prosecutor.
with Mr.
Don't you
Ballard,
ever challenge my integrity.
had
I have
apparently-
abided by every ethics standard. Do not question my ability to be fair and impartial as Attorney General. And anything
You'll
with
answer that
my
question to
former
another of my
firm
colleagues.
about
That explosive confrontation perfectly illustrates the combative approach that has defined Bondi's tenure. But that same aggressive posture is now proving to be her greatest vulnerability. The irony is impossible to ignore. During her confirmation and throughout her first months in office, Bondi repeatedly attacked federal judges who blocked executive orders. She publicly suggested the Supreme Court should restrict lower courts' authority, a position constitutional scholars criticized as dangerous to judicial independence. Now the tables have completely turned. Those same federal courts are pushing back against her with increasing force. The judges she criticized are now criticizing her. What she presented as strength is being exposed as potentially illegal conduct, threatening constitutional rights. This reversal reveals a fundamental miscalculation. Bondi apparently believed aggressive confrontation would intimidate judges. Instead, it has heightened judicial scrutiny of everything the Justice Department does under her leadership. The contempt threats from Congress add another dimension to this crisis. Unlike judicial proceedings that take months to resolve, Congress can move with remarkable speed. The inherent contempt resolution could come to a vote within weeks. forcing every House member to take a public position on whether the Attorney General is obstructing legitimate oversight. The strategic bind Bondi faces is truly remarkable. She can't use her control of the Justice Department to shield herself from Congress's power. She can't rely on friendly judges because the judiciary is already expressing serious concerns. And she can't count on unified political support because members of her own party have joined Democrats in questioning her handling of the Epstein files. Meanwhile, new revelations continue emerging. Recent reporting has shed light on the contents of files Bondi refuses to fully release. According to sources familiar with the documents, they contain detailed information about powerful individuals who were part of Epstein's network, information that could prove deeply embarrassing or legally problematic for people in positions of authority. The Transparency Act was specifically designed to prevent exactly this kind of selective disclosure. The law's sponsors explicitly intended to ensure complete public access to all materials related to Epstein's crimes and connections. Yet here we are, more than a year after the Act's passage, and full disclosure still hasn't occurred. Bondi has released portions while withholding others that many believe contain the most significant revelation. This selective approach has fueled widespread suspicion about what's being hidden and why. For victims and families affected by Epstein's crimes, this stonewalling represents another betrayal. They've endured years watching powerful people escape accountability. The Transparency Act was supposed to be different. A genuine commitment to full disclosure. Instead, they're watching the same pattern repeat. Documents that should be public remain classified. Questions that should be answered remain unanswered. And the Attorney General responsible for enforcing the law appears to be obstructing it. The broader implications for the Justice Department's institutional integrity when career officials feel compelled to publicly denounce their own leadership, it signals a crisis of confidence extending far beyond any single controversy. The Justice Department occupies a unique position in American government. Unlike other agencies that clearly serve at the president's pleasure, the DOJ is supposed to maintain independence. Prosecution decisions should be based on evidence and law, not political considerations. The accusations against Bondi represent a fundamental abandonment of that principle. Former officials are essentially saying she's turned the department into a political weapon, protecting allies, punishing enemies, and making decisions based on partisan advantage, rather than legal merit. The damage extends beyond individual cases. It undermines public confidence in the entire justice system. If Americans believe prosecutions are driven by politics rather than facts, the Justice Department loses its legitimacy. The situation with Deputy Director Barino exemplifies these internal tensions. Here's a career law enforcement official who has dedicated his professional life to the FBI's mission. He's worked under multiple administrations and built a reputation for integrity, and now he apparently believes that reputation has been destroyed. Barino's threat to resign and publicly expose Bondi represents a remarkable escalation. FBI officials, especially at senior levels, are trained to be discreet and handle disputes internally. For Barino to consider blowing the whistle publicly suggests he believes the situation has become so intolerable that normal protocols no longer apply. If Barino follows through, the revelations could prove devastating. As deputy director, he would have access to detailed information about how decisions were made and what considerations drove key choices about the Epstein investigation. His testimony could provide the insider account that forces accountability. The coming weeks will prove decisive. Multiple timelines are converging. Congress is moving toward a contempt vote. Federal judges continue issuing constraining orders. Former officials speak out with increasing frequency, and internal tensions appear to be reaching a breaking point. The fundamental question looming over this crisis is whether Bondi's approach can survive sustained pressure from Congress, the courts, and career officials who believe she's violated the principles that should guide the Justice Department. The Epstein files remain the central issue tying everything together. They represent a test case for transparency and whether powerful people can shield themselves from scrutiny. Bondi's refusal to fully release them, despite clear legal requirements, raises fundamental questions about whose interest she's serving. Is she protecting victims by carefully managing sensitive information? Or is she protecting powerful individuals who would prefer certain details remain hidden? The answer may ultimately determine not just Bondi's fate, but the credibility of the entire Justice Department. What started as questions about document disclosure has evolved into a comprehensive examination of how power is exercised and who holds officials accountable. Attorney General Pam Bondi finds herself at the center of all these questions, facing pressure that would challenge even the most experienced leader. The bombshell developments we're covering: the FBI Deputy Director's threats, Congressional contempt proceedings, judicial warnings, and denunciations from former officials, paint a picture of an Attorney General whose aggressive tactics have backfired spectacularly. This is a story that demands continued attention. The American people deserve answers about what's in those Epstein files, why they haven't been fully released, and whether their Attorney General is serving justice or protecting the powerful from accountability. As these events continue unfolding, we'll be watching closely and bringing you every significant development.